I just heard one of Miss Jo's role models. I'd like to know from Silveria and Tara, who are your role models? Female.
Our role models?
Tara said. I did mention the young lady sitting in front of me when I was speaking, Mrs. Mavis Brooksall. Many of my female teachers, I must say, were strong women. Gloria Duzon, I was just yesterday talking about her. I was 8 years old when she instilled in me the need to speak standard English, to be able to be understood throughout the world. And it was just her way, but I was able to switch it up from very young because of her. Mrs. Mavis Brooks was another very strong female teacher, and she was in the 4th grade, exposed me to music and choir and more than just being a teacher. So she was a second mother to me. But of course, my most important role model was, and though she's only with me in the spirit, my mother, Nadia Bryson Williams-Beck. She lost her mother at 10. She was born with a heart infarct, not properly functioning heart, wasn't expected to live, was told she wouldn't pass the age of 22. She wasn't supposed to have children. She was taken out of school at the age of 13. I had open heart surgery at 8, and so missed a lot of school, and her great aunt who had taken over, raising her, said, you know, that Thai's household is for whores, and they only go there to breed, so you're not going. So at 13, she couldn't go to school. She was forbidden to go to school. And she was sent by a lady to learn to sew. And she escaped the regime by marrying my father at 18. I don't want to go on too long, but I'm giving her story, but her story inspired me. And had us, all 3 of us, by the time she was 22, I think. Yeah, Ronnie had 20, 23. So she had 3 kids in about 3.5 years when she wasn't supposed to have any. She survived, and survived the dominant husband, raised 3 strong children, 2 boys and 1 girl, me. But actually for a while it was 3 boys. Those teachers of mine would remember that. And I always strove to be more because of her. She taught herself to type, became computer literate. Every job she got, she rose from being whatever, the lowest, the waitress, the gas attendant, or whatever it is, the clerk, to the highest level within the business because of the type of person she was. So she taught me to be good to people because nobody can pay you for that. You don't have to demand anything in life. What is for you will be yours. Work hard, be good to people, and always respect, or give people the respect you want. So my greatest role model is Nadia, my mom. Even though she also taught me, like, I don't think on purpose, and I had to unlearn some of it, some of the discrimination that we instill in our children, and I didn't know that I was being taught that black was not cool until I grew up and went out and learned more outside. And so I recently started to embrace more of myself, my big behind, as Miss I told I would talk about her earlier. She meets me, she remembers me when I was Calista Barber, remembers me when I was a stick. And every time she sees me, she said, oh, how do you get so fat? How do you get so fat? And it hurts me because I didn't like my skinny body, first of all. I thought I was too skinny, but I always had a big butt. And I always had big lips. And as a matter of fact, I never thought I was attractive in any way. and a couple of features, and enough people telling you that, I was like, okay, I guess, with some paint on my face. But I've recently started to embrace that it is more what you are inside that shines out of you, regardless of your size, or the paint on your face, the kink in your hair, or the straightness of your hair that determines your beauty. So thanks to all of you.
Always my mother. A lot of women in the community. It's kind of hard to name all the names, but growing up in St. Martin was a wonderful time when I was a child, and it seemed a very magical moment in my life, and people that helped create that magic was certainly Josiane and Anastasia, all my teachers, Miss Mavis, you know, those are the ones at the top of my finger I can call right away. But my aunt, Annie Chris, you know, the staff at the hospital, the one in St. Rose, and pretty much a lot of people in the community, simple people that I didn't know their names, but I just saw them as very strong individuals, or there was something shining out of them that attracted my eyes, and I wanted to know more about the people, the yayas, the dens, you know, simple women, hard-working women, women and no-nonsense women, fanciful women. It was a lot of women, and I'm attracted to just the humanity of us, you know. So it's a long list of people.
Questions here. I just wanted to find out how life was in South Africa after Mandela came out of prison, especially for women.
I still talk to a lot of my friends, and for a lot of them, life is still a struggle. For a lot of them, life has become very successful. In terms of quite a few of the cast members didn't return to the country, they stayed abroad to work, they will go back and forth to support your families. I know from some of them that they're struggling, you know, but it's a huge country. I know there was an element of crime that took over, you know, but I think we have to question, how you say, destabilizing elements that I think are put in place on purpose. So it's not as simple as it is. It is a country that was, it was a systematic system, apartheid, that was installed to really deteriorate the country's morale. I remember when I was living there, they had TV stations, and it seemed that all the TV stations did was make fun of the other ethnic race. So Zulus would make fun of Pedis, Pedis would make fun of Xhosas, Xhosas would make fun of Shangans. So it's very hard to walk out of that and just embrace everybody when you've been conditioned to hate everybody. Likewise, with the women, you know, it was a situation of a lot of violence being perpetuated to them, but then, as mentioned earlier with the Sarah Parkman story, women have been, how do you say, perpetually discredited and stripped of their humanity, so it's easy for us to do that. Understand? And there's a whole lot of confusion about our roles as human beings and then how we're defined by others. So yes, as with South Africa or any other country that's going through a political transition, it behooves some people to keep the country destabilized. But in general spirit, it's a beautiful country. Those are some of the lessons I learned and that I was confronted with, you know, of black on black violence, but black on black violence instigated by somebody else to perpetuate that kind of, how you say, dehumanization effect on each other, which is something that was mentioned with the video earlier. I mean, even our women today, I mean, you know, sexy is great. We all have some kind of beautiful sexuality in us that we all can celebrate. But it seems that's all we've become. is that nature of us. Our intellect has been diminished and just our sexuality has been emphasized, you understand? So South Africa is a recovering country, surviving 50 years of a very, how you say, soul-killing regime that purposefully, but people like Nelson Mandela, they've managed to create a space where change is possible in a beautiful way. I go back tomorrow, trust me, really. Don't worry, I did the last question.
This is something that I find is, because I'm experiencing it myself, after coming back from Holland, I came here, you know, had difficulties finding a job. And then I was faced with, as a single mom, okay, what do you do now? You know, don't have any money, you need to work. The excuse of you're overqualified doesn't pay the bills. And very often approached by men who knows the situation because, ooh, single mom, vulnerable. She's going to definitely want my help. I wonder what I could get from her. And I'm talking young, old, anytime, you know? And I'm a strong woman because my mom influenced me as well to not settle and go for the best. But unfortunately, I see a lot of my younger, powerful women who don't know they're powerful accept that a BlackBerry phone or a phone card or they pay my rent and they give me gas for my car is okay in comparison to giving them something now and then, whenever they call, don't matter what day or time, because it's like I own you, and they find that acceptable. So I would just like to ask you, what motivational influence, or in one sentence, would you say to these women who feel that that's the only way to go because it's like, it's too hard, I have a child, I have a job, I need to pay the bills, and they knocking on my door and I'm trying to tell them, don't give up. I mean, clean something before you decide to sell yourself. I would clean a toilet, you know, go on my hands and knees or something before I decide to go with Harry because he has money. Who cares? Paper is not worth your value. So my question is simple. It's one sentence and then we can go home. What would you say, you know, ladies, one or three of you wonderful, powerful women, to our young St. Martin women who unfortunately a lot of them get pregnant at a young age and then have to deal with this unfortunately, so yes, you know, to like don't give up, you know?
Okay, one sentence will not cover or recover a confused education or program. It's impossible. I know a girl here in the Caribbean who was studied, she's a doctor now, a medical doctor. When she was studying, her boyfriend, she was in the third year, her boyfriend then got another girl pregnant. She got so angry, she got pregnant too. And now she has a child, a diploma, and no boyfriend. How are we going to explain it? I mean, I'm sending the question back. Because it has to do with the way we program our women of all ages. A lot of older women, older than me, who should know better, simply because of their seniority, are still sending the confused, wrong messages to our black girls. So, it's a long way to go. I mean, Sarah Barman, they touched her, they looked at her because she was something foreign. We are foreign now in our own space here in the Caribbean. And there is no one sentence to answer that. Today, maybe one of these young girls will walk out after hearing all this and do the same because, okay, they said it. This guy is nice and he's cute, right? And like she said, like, he's cute, and a cute guy deserves something. So, I know how I used to talk to my daughter, and I still remember when she turned 21, she was studying abroad, but I had a low celebration because she had no child at 21 years old. Okay? Because that's one of the challenges. I try to keep, I spoke at the university the first day of the opening of the new academic year, and I told the girls, if you want to have a diploma, leave the child where he is at this moment. And everybody is laughing and all, and then after a few months, a few of them are pregnant. Because I'm not their educator. I'm not the one with a look that looks great enough to be imitated. I'm not Lil Kim. I'm not Rihanna. I'm not Beyonce. I don't look like them. I don't act like them. So I'm not a role model for them. You cannot put yourself as a role model. They have to recognize you as someone they want to be like. So tonight and tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, there will be some other girls in the Caribbean getting pregnant because the guy was cute.
Ms. Joe was very powerful. We don't want to go there. But I have a 21-year-old, and so far she hasn't had a child. And I still have to convince people she's mine, and I didn't have her dating either. I had her my last year in college, okay? I had, my mother was very, I must say she raised me unfair. So when I was a teenager, it was fair. And I don't think the kids have fair like that anymore, in the sense of, you know, you're afraid to get pregnant or whatever. Based on the media and everything else, our children are so exposed. But I try to counteract that as a mother by communicating, and I think that's the only way. She said, reprogramming what has already been, you know. So a lot of the young people who are acting out that way either stop communicating with their parents, or their parents never communicated in that way with them in the first place. Secondly, the education system touches it very surface-like. And then in the elementary schools where we have to actually do it, we have to have the parents' permission. And they have so many negative, you know, thoughts about it. What they don't want us discussing with their children are discussing on the playground in more raw terms than you would ever believe. 20 years ago, 4 and 5-year-olds did the experimental look. Let me see what you have. Let me see. Now they have, because of smartphones, they bring one child who's been exposed, brings a porn video on a phone, and shows it to all the others. Education in 3 minutes or less. So I think the only way we can counteract is by educating, and it has to start within the homes. But then, as Ms. Jo said, many of the adults act oblivious and as if they never were young and had feelings they couldn't control. So one of the things I told my daughter is, no, sex is not nasty. It is very nice, but you're not ready for it. And you will know when you're ready for it. And it's a responsibility. You cannot just, you know, it's not a handshake. I said in my experience, teenagers fall in love every other day. So if you fall in love today and you have sex tomorrow with this guy, after 3 months, you're in love with him no more. And he tells his friends, and 3 of his friends are lined up to be your friend and to console you, and you're vulnerable. And I said, we had a very open relationship. I'm so happy she didn't come. He would have run out by now. I said, if you, as females, you have a feminine discharge, a vaginal discharge, I said, if you are active, you're going to be wondering, what does this discharge mean? What kind of STD have I picked up? I said, as long as you're not having any, you don't have to worry. It's some normal hormonal change. We'll go to the doctor, we'll deal with it. You won't be afraid to come and tell me until it's too late. So open communication, I mean, you just have to go there and when you can't find the words, find a book or go on the internet nowadays and really show your children. My 6-year-old son came home and asked his grandmother, what is gay mean? And she said, you don't need to know. When she fell asleep, he Googled. And the images that popped up on the screen, he was like in a panic, and she woke up and he said, I didn't do anything, and she read him off. And then when I got home, I had to sit and explain to him what gay was at 6. Because his friend in school said, stop acting gay. Or if you, and same thing. So our children hear things. 3-year-olds say bullying. And then they see Juve, and they see them doing the 6:30 move, and they say that's bullying. We have no idea. Seriously, you have to be in a school to know what children say. They don't say it around their parents. But when they get in a group of 2 or 3, our little children are more educated than we were at 21 about all those negative things. And so when they see half-naked people all the time doing all kinds of things, what makes them feel that their body is valuable? We have to teach them that. Because there's exposure. We cannot erase the exposure anymore. We have to increase their awareness. So that's all I would say is, I do a lot of talking to young girls.
They don't.
A teacher told me once, a few years ago, that a girl got pregnant, a teenager, she was 14 or 15, and the teacher had just given sexual education, so he was really in shock. How come someone gets pregnant after it? And when he went to speak to the girl, she said, well, the guy told her that the teachers are telling them these things so they don't know how they cannot experience pleasure. So the teacher is wrong and the guy was right, and she's pregnant, the guy is gone.
One other thing, in terms of educating young girls, the older, it's sad, right? The child is educated and knows, but her parent is whipping her. Do you know that happens on a daily basis right here? 13 and 14-year-old girls are being sold by their mothers because stepdaddies don't want them anymore to maintain the bills being paid in the house. I know a story of a 14-year-old girl in like a very type level, Harvard, very smart, bright, living in a very poor situation with her mother and maybe 2 other siblings. And that's why I mentioned mommy having 3 and encouraging some man to come into her life and ended up with 4 and no man still. And when Harry comes over, she has to sleep on the porch. And Harry comes on Monday and Wednesday, and Dick comes on Tuesday, and Frankie comes on Thursday. And this is what she sees. This is her reality. And she knows better. But her mother reminds her, this is how you eat. And then when Harry or Peter or John says, I'm tired of you, your daughter looks ripe. Mommy sacrifices her daughter for that light bill, food bill, or whatever. So economic deprivation allows some of our parents to teach women, our young women, that their bodies are vehicles to be used for gain. And that's why a $5 phone card can work, and those other types of things. So we can shake our heads because we probably doing okay, but that's their reality. And then they see it on TV and they say, oh, are you stupid, you're doing it for free. This is what a young girl told me in one of these sessions. But you're doing it anyway, and you're doing it for free.
Thank you, ladies. Well, we ended up on it wasn't a positive note, it was a kind of sad note to hear former education minister talking this way, and she's talking real talk. That's real talk being hearing. I hear it all the time too, but sometimes it gets you depressed, especially knowing that I have 2 young girls coming up, but I try my best. We have to continue to talk. We have to continue to struggle, and as all of you all said, being black, it's even harder, but we're going to try and we're going to continue to stay on top. Once we are educated, nothing can keep us down. What do you say to that? It was a very nice evening, and on behalf of Ras Bushman and the Freedom Fighters Foundation, I want to thank you all for coming out, and we hope to do this again sometime soon. What's the next celebration, Ras? Thank you to Raina Joe for coming all the way from Curacao. Also, Clara Race. Thank you for the educational talk from South Africa. And of course, our former education minister. Thank you. Always an inspiration to me, of course. Always. And of course, to One Young Poet Society and Pfizer, yeah. I was about to say Rochelle. And there's Blossom and Sunshine. Thank you all for